Welcome to the land of confusion. Is there anything more to say? Really? Do any of you not get what's happening? I know you go to your respective parties, especially at this time of night, for succor, S-U-C-C-O-R, not S-U-C-K-E-R. I don't judge. Tell me why I'm right to hate him. Tell me why I'm right to love him. Does anybody really need to tell you anything? There he is. Hair blown majestically, reshooting the scene for his own ad. I hold rallies, and I tell you to ignore masks, and I rip mine off as I vanquish the virus because I am a leader. Fear not, COVID. What a bunch of Going back to the White House, if you want to know the reality, the truth, okay? The virus is the truth. The virus doesn't care about left and right.
The virus is the truth. This is the mass hysteria. This is exactly why the Democrats have a problem. The progressive left in CNN has caused mass hysteria. I think the point man on this is Chris Cuomo, right? Rachel Maddow on the other side. They've caused mass hysteria. Mass hysteria is supposed to be evidence-based, data-based, knowledge-based, science-based. This is a man-made phenomenon coming out of a lab in Wuhan, either through a gain-of-function or a biological weapons program, either deliberately launched, as many Chinese say, or inadvertently. But it can be worked through. President Trump did that in the debate. Start talking about second and third order issues. We can work through all that. You saw the treatment President Trump got. Is it perfect? No. A lot of it's not FDA approved. Some of it's experimental. But President Trump, the theme is, as in anything in life, it has to be addressed, thought through. We have a learning curve. The virus is the truth. Cuomo, by the way, it was a little eerie. It was a little uncomfortable there. Some of his descriptions of Trump.
Majestic.
Full majestic.
Fear not, COVID.
Chris, subliminal. He and his brother wish they were up there, right? I get the whole thing.
Well, you remember what was interesting to me was that Donald Trump and Melania both got the virus.
Oh, God. You're not going to
Maybe
go
it's
here.
because it's becoming more infectious, but if I remember, Mrs. Cuomo didn't catch the virus, did she?
And the Prime Minister of Canada didn't get it from his wife. Just saying. Hey, I'm just giving you evidence-based, data-based, science-based.
It's simply majestic.
Jack Maxey had to go there. What did Madeline Pelt, is it Madeline Pelt's of Media Matters? Her tweet the other day, in all her years of working at Media Matters, the worst half hour of her life was watching Showtime's The Circus with me on it the other night. Madeline, wow. Okay, you're in the war room. It's Tuesday, the 6th of October, the year of our Lord 2020. We got, 27 in a wake-up to the signpost of then takes us, slingshots us to the inaugural. Because this is all inextricably linked. The mass hysteria that they have caused, you see Cuomo last night, because they're just in full meltdown. It's in full meltdown. Started with Erin Burnett. She was so, when Wolf Blitzer pitched the ball to her yesterday, she was cross-eyed. She was so angry, right? She was cross-eyed. No, I think she was a lacrosse player, lacrosse or field hockey or something like that. But you shouldn't, you should take it in stride, take a deep breath. But then Cuomo's meltdown. This is what drove their base. This is what drove all the Democrats, underground. So nobody wants to go and vote. And here's what you're doing, Democrats. You're cannibalizing your game day vote. You're not getting low propensity voters. And now you're in panic mode. So you're putting a mask on and you're social distancing and you're trying to go door to door. Too late. Sorry, not sorry. You brought this on yourselves. As imperfect as Donald Trump is, and he's the first to admit he's imperfect, right? His program, and I think his program now, he's got the virus, got the CCP virus. He's got the CCP virus, and he's working through it. With all kind of, I just want to say, if they can pull the camera here, this is the best picture of his presidency. the other night at Bethesda, just working at the table. That's what's going to get us through here. Just another day at the office, right? Just power through it. I'm not crazy. Stay on message. I'm not crazy about the tweet this morning. No, we're not going to go back to the flu, okay? All of your supporters, all of your smart supporters have been lighting you up on one. We're not going back there, okay? We left that one behind.
Well, not least because he was the one who back in May was saying, hey, this isn't like the flu. My friends don't die of the flu.
Exactly. Hello. Go back to the old tweet. Somebody get it up. But here's the difference. He talked about it the other day, although he didn't put the construct on there, second and third order. In the debate, he's giving you second and third order issues, which Jack Maxey's on. You know, how many suicides we had, how many issues with domestic abuse, how many issues with the economy. The compare and contrast. Everybody out there that's middle class, working class, look at what de Blasio and Cuomo and Biden and this crowd want to do. They want to pitch the keys to guys like Tony Fauci, okay? Tony Fauci, who in January 23rd, we got nothing to worry about. You know, we don't need masks. You know, everything. He's always wrong out of the gate. They want to toss the keys to Tony and just stay locked down forever. Hey, that's just not an option. We can power through this. And hey, there are going to be some casualties. You know why? It's a CCP virus. This is a man-made virus. I got that, but you can work through this. And targeted interventions, focus on comorbidities, focus how you open this smartly, right? We're going to have some bumps. Everybody's saying that. But you just can't, you know, Biden's, everybody's got to get a mask and we got to get testing. That's not a plan. Those are assertions. He doesn't have a plan. He's got some assertions. Their plan is to keep everybody locked down. How's that going to work? The balance sheet of the United States is going to be blown up. You're going to have massive deficits. And it's not deficits I'm building infrastructure for a fourth industrial revolution, right? This is just, the deficits now are just to close the gap in the bridge, right? And at least with Trump, it's a bridge to somewhere. With Biden, it's a bridge to nowhere. You're just going to keep putting these spanning devices up. John Fredericks Radio Network, Real America's Voice, that's Dish Channel 219. Comcast 113. I think Raheem gave us the tip the other day, maybe DirecTV at one time. Newsmax TV in 70 million homes. So we're in 100 million homes past. G News, GTV, blowing through the firewall, massive audience for us. Want to thank everybody in Australia. You guys are fighting the good fight. I was on Maria. Want to thank Maria Bartiromo. I was on Maria. We'll play a little bit of that later. Want to thank producer Vish. Did Dawn Patrol today to get up and make sure we were there. In the same message. It's all inextricably linked. Dave and I, look, I blew back on Maria today. Nobody out there's covered this like we have. Started as early, got as many experts, really thought through China, all the issues of this. We take it very seriously here. Although we allow for differences of opinion. Poor Jack Maxey's been in the mumble tank. He and Dr. Zelenko have been in the mumble tank for a couple of days. They didn't see hydroxy. All of a sudden, they went to the $9,000 5 days. Jack, I can't count. By the way, Wolf Blitzer, when you do Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, it's not 4 days. It's Friday to Saturday's 1 day, Saturday to Sunday's 2 days, Sunday to Monday's 3 days. Evidence-based, data-based, science-based. I could do that all on one hand and had a couple of fingers left over. No, it's not 4 days, Wolf. Realize that was a quick one. Higher order mathematics. No, it's not 4 days. There. Okay, Jack. And Raheem, I want to get to you. You've been doing some great stuff here on the mass hysteria. This is about reason and rationality versus mass hysteria. And I understand the mainstream media and all the Democrats hate when I say that Donald Trump is the grounded center with all his craziness. And Joe Biden is Mr. Chaos, right? Because everything he says makes no sense. Nothing ties together in like the Cartesian world. But Jack, I'm just doing some math. And the only time I've ever felt any concern or nervousness in this thing when I'm watching Chris Cuomo at 11 o'clock. I admit it. I watch Cuomo and Anderson Cooper and Brian Williams. I'm watching him at 11 o'clock, and they're going to go for a couple more hours live, and he's hitting – all of a sudden he's saying, he's taking remdesivir. They hooked him up on remdesivir, had a viral load spike, had a temperature. And I go, wow, wasn't that like Boris Johnson day really day 8 in the hospital, but day 30 or 2 or 3 weeks into it, because he hung out for a couple of weeks. Then he went in and they gave him remdesivir right before they either did or didn't put him on respiration, but we know he needed oxygen. Right. So Jack Maxey has a long way to go to. Where are we getting? We having remdesivir at the White House today?
We are apparently getting our last dosage of remdesivir at the White House today. But what I find very interesting, the emergency use authorization, especially the one that expanded it for early use in late August, still requires, and I quote, the Veklury, which is the generic name, covered by this authorization will be used only to treat adults and children with suspected or laboratory-confirmed COVID-19 administered in an inpatient hospital setting via intravenous infusion by a healthcare provider. And
so does the White House, because White House has a big medical facility down there, right? Or not, I shouldn't say big, but it's sophisticated. Is that double for is the president guy get an IV on this today?
He has to get an IV on it. Well, it can be done different ways. It could be just done directly injected with a large hypodermic needle, and they time the injection so that it's spaced out over a half hour to 90 minutes.
As the president say, a big fat shot, and then
I think it's directly intravenous. I don't think he gets it in his backside. He might get the dexamethasone there.
Here's what I don't understand. What happened to hydroxy? Where's our solution?
Well, here's where I think
you and Zelenko and Risch, you've been selling me on this. I'm in. I'm a hydroxy
Listen,
guy.
He could have been taking the hydroxychloroquine in the first 24 hours or so. But
they didn't list that in the press release.
When his doctors decided to take him to the hospital and put him on remdesivir, the emergency use authorization, and this is something that I don't think the media has picked up on, specifically says that you cannot get a remdesivir course of treatment while taking hydroxychloroquine. There was a single cell study that seemed to show that it reduced the effectiveness of the remdesivir when the two were in combination.
But that was one of those snarky ones that was out to crush hydroxy, right? Anyway, the rest of the world is doing fine because they're all on hydroxy.
Well, I think the biggest thing for this, Steve, is the whole left was hoping that the president would get sick and prove the devastating nature of this virus to the American people, and perhaps.
Well, we're still not. I don't want to get too cocky. We're still not through this, right? The worst days on this thing are days 7 and 8. Mr. Jack Maxey?
Well, this is what they claim, but you have to remember, Donald Trump, his own doctor said we're in kind of uncharted territory because really there are very few people who get tested so regularly and then immediately had an interventional course of treatment.
Why are they not putting up his negative test? Why are they playing into the media?
I don't know that he's been having a daily test.
And Dr. Conley, who I think is Commander Conley, I don't know if just saying, "Hey, we're looking forward, not backwards," is gonna. That's kind of walking into the media. The reason I want to get to this is all the hysteria. They are completely in full meltdown now. They're in full meltdown that President Trump walked out. They're in full meltdown. I think you're right that he's not on a respirator right now. They're in full meltdown. Okay, hashtag we're in pandemic.
I think it will also go to the fact that, if he has been taking the rapid test and the rapid test was wrong, people will start looking again at, hey, it's not as accurate as the full test.
Are they trying to push him as it's not Hope Hicks, it's Trump's the spreader? Is that what they're trying to get to? He's Typhoid Mary. That's what they're trying to push. I kind of figured that. Okay, hashtag we're in pandemic. Want to hear you in the live stream. Most powerful audience in all media. We will be back in a moment.
War Room Pandemic with Stephen K. Bannon.
The epidemic is a demon, and we cannot let this demon hide.
War Room Pandemic. Here's your host, Stephen K. Bannon.
You heard Hillary Clinton. She says Joe Biden should contest this election, whatever it takes.
Maria, she said don't concede under any circumstance. Look, this is what I've been working on. I was never going back to the campaign. Bill Stepien, Jason Miller, Mayor Giuliani, you got a great team over there, Steve Cortez on the campaign. I was always, for the last couple of months, leading this effort, understanding they couldn't win on game day. They cannot win on game day. They've got to try to steal it starting the evening of November 3rd. President Trump's going to have a massive victory that evening. They're going to have a combination of lawyers, media and social media, the oligarchs in Silicon Valley, and also the street muscle of Antifa and certain elements of Black Lives Matter. That's why I'm doing this national tour, to alert people. Remember, you said in the last segment 600. They've got 800 lawyers. They're already in with hundreds of lawsuits. This is why we need to confirm the 9th justice for the Supreme Court. Cases are already going to the Supreme Court. We need 9 justices. We need Judge Barrett right away to get on top of this. But I got to tell you, President Trump's group, the outside groups are organized. We're not going to allow the hysteria of the Democratic Party to steal the game day victory from President Trump. This is going to be a fight like no other, but President Trump is going to prevail.
Do you think he will have a landslide?
I think on the game day vote, I think on the evening of November 3rd, President Trump will have a massive victory. Remember, what's happening right now with all the mail-in votes and the early votes, the Democratic Party is just cannibalizing their game day vote. They don't have a lot of low propensity voters. This is why you're seeing the panic of Michael Bloomberg putting $100 million into Florida. This is why you're seeing the Democrats right now, Pelosi and all of them, trying to pivot to try to go door to door. It's too late. They have forced people underground. It's too late for them to do it. They're going to try to steal it the night of November 3rd. We're not going to let them. President Trump's going to win on game day, and he's going to win. He's going to win everywhere else and be inaugurated on the 20th of January.
That's called a runaway train. When the producers put that sound up, they want you off. If you're a viewer to War Room, you saw I squeezed every bit of juice out of that, right? Every bit of juice. Talk about hysteria. Bannon, you're a little hysterical. And this is what's gonna. Okay, folks, you're the most important audience in the world. You've already changed this thing. We got the Democrats in total meltdown. Total meltdown. They're scrambling around now. Here's what they're doing. The key is write this one down. Low propensity voters. Low propensity voters. They're in a mad scramble. Mad scramble. Now to figure out how they got to go door to door and start getting low propensity voters. Guess what? Too late. Sorry, not sorry. Okay, too late. You guys brought it on. You always bring everything on yourself, and then you whine and moan later on. The reason we've got Kavanaugh and about to have Judge Barrett is because, you didn't want Merrick Garland. Progressives, he was too moderate, didn't want him, didn't push for him, didn't fight for him. And Judge Ginsburg, God rest her soul, one of the great justices out there, one of the great judges, said, "Hey, Hillary Clinton's gonna smoke Trump." You know why? Because she looked at the NBC Wall Street Journal poll and saw that Trump was down 14 points in October, right? That's what she didn't go. That's where you're going to have. That's where you're going to have a 6-3 court. Your fault. The reason Judge Barrett's got to go. Because, already, I think Kavanaugh yesterday, already the Supreme Court's looking at what are you guys doing? You got Perkins Coie, you got all these guys out there. Raheem Kassam, read the annotated version of the Transition Integrity Project, which now all of those guys, they're afraid we're going to make them famous on War Room, so they're all in hiding now, right? They're all in hiding. Please don't put my picture up, okay? They're all in hiding. We exposed all that. So now they're running around. They got 200 lawsuits everywhere, and they're losing all over the place. And if you look at what the election law, what they're trying to do, it's crazy. They want to have like pre-type, pre-thing, and so they can just the outside groups can just run around with the truck with the pallet in the back, load them up. We're voting by the pound here. Not going to happen. Okay, just embrace this. We got poll watchers. We've got election officials, we got lawyers everywhere. Every ballot that's not from a voting booth is going to be contested. Sorry if you don't like that. And everyone that can be certified counts. Everyone that be certified counts. We're believers in democracy. But ones that can't be certified do not count. And look what happened to you in Brooklyn. 30% of your votes uncertifiable. In Know-It-All Manhattan, 20% uncertifiable. Look at the math. I was going through some math last night with some folks about what on non-certifiable, and it does not look good. This is why you're not going to be able to you're not going to be able to steal it. Game day vote, you're not going to be able to steal it. You're going to try to. You're not going to be able to steal it. You got too many woke individuals. I want to go to Raheem Kassam, the esteemed Raheem Kassam. What's that cologne?
Sauvage by Dior.
So good.
Thank you. I'll speak to you off.
Vish Cuomo. Vish Cuomo over there.
Majestic.
The third Cuomo brother. The third Cuomo brother. Madeline's going to be lighting us up today. Or the guy Horowitz. Is he back on Twitter yet?
I don't know. I haven't checked.
Hashtag War and Pandemic. Want to hear what you got to say about the show? Live stream, most powerful audience, Lao Beijing. We're going to be talking about John Brennan's out yesterday, blown up like a toad on Rachel Maddow on his book. Complete total insubordination. Everybody should just watch that, right? He's so loyal. He's such a patriot. That's not true. That's not true. President Trump's elected by the American people. Who elected John Brennan? Who elected John Brennan? He's going to decide what he's going to give and what he's not going to. Does not work that way, John. Adam Schiff, in the next section, but we're going to go into it. Adam Schiff called you out. Comey, Clapper, Hayden, Adam Schiff and the House. That intelligence report, sir, we're going to post that on your tombstone, okay? Because it shows you the existential threat. You're running around. And by the way, even the critics on the book, NPR is sitting there going, they read the book and they go, he doesn't really tie anything together about all of his failures. The intelligence community is a complete joke, okay? For the amount of money we put in, you get everything wrong. You missed 9/11. You missed weapons of mass destruction, right? You missed every major turn in the Middle East, right? Oh, by the way, the rise of China, missed it. Oops, missed it.
CCP
virus, missed it. Oops, missed it. Tell me what's so intelligent about that?
Wet markets.
Yeah, where is the intelligence? You know, when I read the briefings in the morning, here's what upsets them. You know what upsets them? When you're sitting there and they give me the briefing, it's all like, why is this classified? And they like melt down. You could literally go to you could go to a bunch of defense publications, right? And and tie it all together more. You miss some photographic stuff, which is all. Oh, yeah, I got the photographs. The joke. You're a joke, Brennan. You're a joke. It's just a joke, bro. What's going to be remembered in this great conflict that we're now in, right? That we will win because the Chinese people are on our side. Lao Beijing. What we're going to remember is like this is pre-Pearl Harbor stuff. You were asleep. Your apparatus, Hayden, Clapper, Comey. Only Comey, the FBI is only woke now that President Trump's president. And I don't know how woke Ray is. Ray's sitting there going, I got domestic terrorism. Hey, note to self. You got Antifa as an international organization, plus you got the CCP everywhere. I want to finish with mass hysteria before we go to CCP. I'm kind of getting into the next segment.
Yeah.
Raheem Gassam, tell me about mass hysteria, the media.
Just before, I said sauvage. Somebody thought in the live chat I said sausage, which is vicious cologne. All right,
Spicy.
so the meltdown continues across the left media. And I mean, the left media, I love reading these things. So Salon.com's lead at the moment is Trump's Chernobyl moment. Phony patriotism can't defeat this virus.
It's a CCP Chernobyl, a biological Chernobyl. Salon won't say that. They blame it on Trump. Why don't you blame it on? But it is a Chernobyl from Wuhan. It's CCP's Chernobyl.
And we'll get into the HIPSI report later on and what's enclosed in that, which I noticed that not very many news outlets actually wanted to cover, at least not in detail.
Oh, they want to cover Russia. Everything comes out of Russia's. Okay, Brennan, embrace this. It's not relevant. It's the size of New York State, demographic despot. It doesn't make anything the world needs. Okay? Bad guys, lots of weapons, run by KGB and kleptocracy. But not the problem. China is. The one you missed on your watch, Brennan?
No, I tell you what's amazing about this new Russian narrative is Reuters pops up a 2,000-word story 2-3 days ago about how the Russians are trying to interfere again, and they cite the Newsroom for American and European-based Citizens website. So this janky website built on, blogger.com or something, naebc.com. You go and you look on SimilarWeb and Alexa and all these things that actually mark up where that website gets zero traffic. It's got 0 comments after every single post, and this is what Reuters spends 2,000 words writing about as Russian interference. Anyway, and shout out to Michael
The worst
Weiss
thing the
and
Russians
Daily
have done
Beast.
is the shows on RT. They're visiting that on the American people, right? Just kidding. Just kidding.
So in addition to the salon meltdown there, you've got HuffPost leading with an embarrassment. Trump savage for don't be afraid advice. And Mother Jones is leading with an article that the secret to beating Trump lies with you and your friends, which is effectively about how to get the message.
But I want to
how
go back to don't be afraid. I want to go back. I want to go back to don't be afraid. This is the key. This is the key. It was our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, right, that said on the I believe it was walking on water, be not afraid. When he's in the boat and the storm's hitting, right? Be not afraid. It's going to be cool. We're going to get through this. Be not afraid. John Paul Deuce picked that up.
That was his message to the Polish people.
And Trump, don't be afraid. Fear. The only thing we have to fear is fear itself. What they want is you to be afraid. You don't need to be afraid. War and pandemic, we say that. Don't need to be afraid. This is bad. CCP did it. It's not natural. But we'll get through this, okay? We're going to come back in a moment. Continue on. Be not afraid.
War Room Pandemic with Stephen K. Bannon.
The epidemic is a demon, and we cannot let this demon hide.
War Room Pandemic. Here's your host, Stephen K. Bannon.
Be not afraid. Jack Maxey brought up a brilliant insight in the break.
Be not afraid is always the message that the angels of the Lord bring when they come to the earth to give us a message. Remember when Mary found that she was pregnant with the Christ child, the first thing that the angel Gabriel says to her is, be not afraid. And the other thing that makes this very poignant phrase for what we're talking about as a world right now in our conflict with the communist Chinese, Lech Walesa remarked that when John Paul II came to Krakow and spoke to the Polish people in 1982, and there were millions of people who showed up, and he said, hey, there's a small group called Solidarność in Gdansk or Danzig in the north, and I want you people to support them. At that time, Walesa said we had about 4 or 5 people who were willing it publicly to come out and show themselves in support of the movement. So John Paul II says this to the assembled Polish people, and he ends it with that phrase, be not afraid. It became the rallying term of the Polish people to throw off the yoke of the communist Chinese. And Lech Walesa said, after he said that, in 1 year's time, we had 4.5 million supporters.
Wow. Changed Western history. We'll get more to that. Mika is claiming her dad, who was part of the disaster of the Carter administration in folding to the Soviet Union. Raheem, I want to go back to this question of hysteria versus rationality. You know, Trump is the the solid center of the storm. Joe Biden as the old guy just kind of wandering around, got a mask on. Jill Biden pulling him back. Make sure you're social distance, Joe. Leadership versus non-leadership. But the mass hysteria, they want you to be afraid. Now it's out in the open. They want you to be afraid. We take this pandemic more seriously than anybody. We've done this since January, 6 days a week, okay? You don't need to be afraid. You need to be smart. You need to be tough, right? You need to be relentless. What did one of our people on the in our news feed that helps organize just said? You got to defeat it. We have to. You're not going to eradicate it. You just have to defeat it, right?
Look, the point is that the president's tweet from 8:03 a.m. this morning gave the media another round of shots at him.
This
right?
is the flu.
This is the flu stuff.
Okay, note to Mr. President, we all love you, but the flu. You wouldn't have had the reaction on Friday to have to go to Walter Reed for the flu. Okay, you'd have taken a couple of aspirin. And get in bed.
And the truth is, he's had access to the best medical care in the world right now. For the people who can't, they don't want to hear it's just the flu, right? For the people who are down with this for a long time, they don't want to hear it's just the flu. But the more important point of all of that is, right, because that's a lot of the noise we're going to hear about now for the next 24 hours, 36 hours. The more important point is what the second line here, right?
Jack's got to get in there. He's the flu guy.
Which is the flu crew, which is we have learned to live with it just like we are learning to live with COVID. No. Don't live with it, defeat it.
Well, let's just bring reality back to the fore here. We've only ever defeated one virus. That's smallpox. Okay, all
Sure.
the rest of them are still here, running around amongst us. Even polio.
No. But you're misinterpreting.
Defeat means get back to normality.
We didn't say eradicate. We said defeat. You're going to have to live with these things. First off, it came out of a weapons lab.
Right,
It's
but
not
if you're
going to
gonna
go
have
away.
live with it. You have to accommodate it, not defeat it. Here's the reality.
defeat
we have
it
to.
by
I think,
getting back to normality.
I think you defeated to get back to normality. If you
stop being
accommodate it,
afraid.
you're living on its terms.
That's
Did
exactly right.
Jack Maxey buy into Cuomo? The virus is truth. The virus is truth.
No. But here's what
The
I'm
virus
saying.
is not
the
true,
virus
Cuomo.
is insidious. Okay, we have seen almost
Yes.
no difference between the places that have gone into full lockdown and the ones that didn't. This virus, now we have the CDC come out and changing their mind for the third time in 2 weeks. They say this is an aerosol virus. So this means the masks are pointless, right? And if this is the case, then why aren't we wearing masks?
Why do you say
every
why
flu
do
season?
you say the mask?
Well, because the particulate matter now, according to their new guidelines, is so small that it passes through the average mask that
course
the
it does.
person wears.
Of course it does.
And,
I mean,
and
look
if
at the-
these
look at the
masks are
cheap
so
masks that
effective,
we've
in
got in this
2018
country.
we lost 100,000 people. Okay, if these
To what?
masks are so
To what?
effective to influenza,
no, that's
according
not
to-
true. That's not
according
true.
to the
Zero.
CDC, it is
I don't
true.
care. Zero.
Well,
Sure.
why
Still,
do you
I'm
believe
still-
the CDC
I'm still-
with this
who-
virus and
who's-
not believe them with the
I
influenza
haven't believed the
virus?
CDC. The CDC, I think, has been a disaster. The Administrator of State, Fauci, the CDC has been a disaster. They've been a total disaster. They came in a couple of weeks ago. They change their thing every
Yeah,
week.
they're changing stuff every
They're
other
changing
day.
their stuff. I don't believe the
But
CDC.
here's the problem.
They're the Administrative State.
When they screw up, it accrues back to Donald Trump. What I'm trying to do is defend the president here. And when he says it's the flu or it's a bad flu, let me
That's your
explain something
problem.
very clearly.
We're in a search for truth.
Children are not in schools. We have robbed children of a year of their life. This virus, whatever you want to call it, is much less dangerous for children than seasonal flu. And what have we done to these poor children? We have robbed them of a year of their life.
First off,
this is
you
shameful.
Okay, stop.
We're
Hang
saying-
on.
we're saying
Hang
live
on.
with it.
Do you
Gentlemen,
believe?
no
Hold on.
fighting
Stop.
in the war room.
Hang on. Do you believe, Dr. Yan, that this came out of a lab in Wuhan? Yes or no?
Whether it's,
Hang on. Stop. That's a yes or no question.
I think there's a very
There's
high
a yes or no.
likelihood.
Okay, very high likelihood. You agree that it's not from nature. It's man-made, either gain of function experiment or bioweapon.
Sure.
Okay, so and we have no earthly idea what impact. What we do know, if you get this and you die in agony, right? If the 200,000 people, by and large, unless you had dementia and maybe a bunch of them had that, it's an agonizing death. Unlike the flu, we have no earthly idea what impact this is going to have.
I don't want to be argumentative here, but the course towards death is almost exactly the same for somebody who dies of influenza versus somebody who dies. They're essentially,
That
their
is just-
lungs
that's-
fill up with fluid,
that's just not-
and they
that's
die
not-
because
that's just
they
not-
lack the ability to process oxygen in their body.
That's just
they
not
suffocate.
accurate.
It's
how
the
many
same
how many
in both,
how many influenza patients are put on? First of all, nobody dies from influenza. It's just an administrative check mark. Number two, how many get put on a respirator?
Well, I think that. Thank you very much for bringing that up because the respirators are going to turn out to have been one of the grand errors of this thing, especially in New York. Governor Cuomo was exactly correct in 2017 when he said we don't even have enough people to operate more than 1,500 of these, and that's why he didn't buy the 12,000 that he wanted.
The respirator operators are important.
Well, hold on. I mean, you want to talk about coming back to reality here. COVID-19 has killed a significant number of people, right? I mean, in this country alone, what are we at? 210,000 or something now?
210,000.
What was let's take it out of the last 2 years, just in case, whatever skewed things. How many people died from the flu, all right? Died from the flu in 2018?
I think it was about 85,000.
It was about 35,000. That's a significantly
CDC
fewer
site?
number than have died from COVID-19.
I don't trust the CDC. I don't
Well,
think
look,
I am looking at
we
the
have
CDC.
to use
Okay,
them
fine.
as a baseline.
Fine, use it as a baseline. But even so, what you're saying to me, I don't want to live with this thing.
But
I
here-
will
yes,
not. I
yes,
do not want to
yes.
live with this
We
thing.
want-
I want
we-
to kill it
yeah.
dead,
Or
stop it in its tracks. Let the market reopen.
We're
let the
not going to be
schools
able to kill
reopen.
it dead until we get into the
idea-
lab. Until we get into the lab in Wuhan, we know that, Dr. Yan. However,
And the Hip
you
C
can't
report says
accommodate.
so.
We have to get control. The way you get control, I think, is what President Trump is saying. Now, I would like to see an action plan that got us into the labs. 72 hours, or we cut you off from the dollar in Hong Kong. You're going to open up those labs in a harder and tougher action plan against this thing instead of Joe Biden's, you got to wear a mask and I want to do contact tracing, which I don't think is a plan. I think President Trump could be on a roll here. But you've got to either take control of this situation, and because Biden wants everybody afraid. The Democrats want that. And the blowback we see is the fact that none of their people want to come out to vote. That's why they're spending all this time and money trying to change the rules with, in the middle of voting. People are voting right now, right?
Well, I would caution all those Democrats about voting. You have to touch ballots with your hands. You have to touch doorknobs. It's very, very frightening. And if you were to pick your nose afterwards, you'll have the virus. So I want you to all stay at home because, as Chris Cuomo has said,
we just have an FCC violation.
Very, very, very dangerous for
Who are
you
those
to
two
go
nut
out
jobs
outdoors.
that got? Who are those two nut jobs that are sending out the bad
Jacob Wall
robocalls?
and Burke.
Oh yeah, Jack Bergman.
Is now going to be swap in Jack Maxey. Watch it. We haven't gotten to but I want to stay in mass hysteria for a second. Since we have mass hysteria, in the war room.
The only thing I'm afraid of is Biden winning.
So great. Hashtag war and pandemic in the live stream. Want to hear what you have to say. But this is why I think the president today shows the action plan, and I don't think, listen, because he's still got, Jack, how many, he's got, 4 or 5 more days at least of if not therapy, under scrutiny before and he's still infectious potentially up until, if they found it on Thursday, he's infectious for 14 days, potentially. That's what you got to quarantine for?
7 to 14 days. And Collins, his doctor, said it yesterday. He's not entirely out of the woods. This virus is going to take its course. But the fact of the matter is he looks like he is improving. His symptoms have been reduced. And even Fauci last night on TV said the president looked great when he was leaving the hospital. He said, I can't deny that the guy looks like he's in good shape. But Fauci said, with an abundance of caution, the next 3 or 4 days are really going to be the tell on whether or not he's going to,
Do you think he left the hospital? Do you think he left Walter Reed too early, given your knowledge of the treatments and remdesivir and all that?
Given my knowledge of the actual statistical likelihood of somebody of Trump's age with his BMI, with his lack of comorbidities, it's under, it's about 2% or under that guy's going to die of this disease.
It's 98% then that you survive.
Right. So I'm not saying that those are great odds. They're awful odds in an aggregate sense, but, they're not bad when you consider that he's also gotten the earliest treatment probably of anybody in North America.
Raheem, why it seems to me the campaign, you've got Operation MAGA. They kicked off last night with they had a who's who on live stream. Don Jr., I think the VP was on there. They've got so many people, surrogates, great surrogates you could send out to these events, mini events, rallies, whatever, and then beam the president in and force the media to cover. Remember, the media this is just a reality you have to deal with. The media are just not going to cover the rallies. They're not going to cover any news you break. They're not going to cover any. They don't want to show the size of the crowd, the intensity. Do you use this to your advantage, the online part, the streaming part, and get him out there to touch as many different districts as possible?
I think right now the media is trying to run circles around the Trump campaign and the White House, trying to box it in on the back of this. And I think the tweet this morning was, taking that bait and getting boxed in. What the president should be doing, what the campaign should be doing at this point in time is a daily fireside chat, right? Whatever you want to call it, an hour long, 2 hours long, however you want to go with the president every single night on a different topic. And we'll get into the polling later on, but this new CNN polling this morning, he must have a night talking for 2 hours about the economy. He must have an hour for 2 nights talking about the crime situation out there. Don't forget, they're not showing the videos of what's still happening out in these cities, out in Portland. They're not showing the videos of what's going on there every night on the national news. The White House should be playing that and having President Trump responding to it in real time. He's got to pull himself away from what the media is trying to attract him, magnetize him towards, and he's got to chart his own path here. We'll go through the poll.
You're saying what they want to do is get him totally focused on COVID. I actually think there's that COVID could be a selling point if you get focused. You're saying
definitely gonna be
You're saying
one
go
of the
back to the
nights.
go back to the economy, go back to law and order,
Look
go
at
back
it.
to.
I mean, the
national
Dow's
security.
up again here. You know, he's got everything to play for. It's his strongest point when you look at what voters say about him is the economy. Start with the economy, move on to crime, do a night on COVID, do a night on healthcare, do a night on the Supreme Court. You know, take the next 5 days and go boom, 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 boom through the whole thing. Cut straight through them.
Okay, from Brexit, Raheem Kassam is going to come back. We come back. Raheem Kassam is going to walk you through some polls. On the surface, look pretty grim, but when you get below the hood, there's a lot to see there. And as we're in the run-up, we'll be back. We're in the pandemic in a second.
War Room Pandemic with Stephen K. Bannon.
The epidemic is a demon, and we cannot let this demon hide.
War Room Pandemic. Here's your host, Stephen K. Bannon.
Okay, we got to get to John Brennan. We got to get to the House Intelligence Report, the failures of the intelligence community on China. We're going to get to all that. We got so much to go through, but we got to go polling, path to victory, all of that. But let's turn first to the most powerful audience in all media, an audience that has already changed world history, the deplorables and Lao Beijing. Comments, we want to hear all your comments. We want to hear hashtag War on Pandemic and in live stream. So what do we got? Vish, producer Vish.
So we have one from one from saying, excuse me, I'm sorry, I'm beat up here. One saying that on a scale of 1 to 10.
Vish, we give you a big break. We give
you
you a
get
big.
one
We
shot
get
on
you
the
one
microphone.
shot on the mic, and this is why Vish is producer Vish.
Yeah.
Do you know the difference between definitely and definitively yet from yesterday?
No, not yet.
Okay,
Still
okay.
working on that.
Okay.
Let's go. What have you got?
Scale of 1 to Bannon's hair. Scale of 1 to 10. Bannon's hair is 10 plus.
That's one of the. Okay, great.
What
we
have
love
you
it.
done to him?
I don't know. He's just,
One.
that's a great comment. 10 plus.
Another one from Bill Scott. Jack Maxey's testicles have their own zip code.
That's a medical condition.
Whoa.
Bullitis.
We got that's God love the
Each
deplorables.
contracted COVID separately.
God love the deplorables. Okay, maybe we stop with comments from the
Yeah,
go
no
to
more
polling.
comments.
Okay.
FD Pate says you guys are on fire today. It is so great.
Okay, great. Well, we love it. We're here to give you insights and perspectives you're not going to get anywhere else. Action. Let's talk about this polling. On the surface, the headlines look a little grim, but remember, NBC had us down 14 points around Billy Bush weekend. So don't. So Raheem, walk me through, particularly the poll this morning. There's two. One out of Florida.
Yeah.
And then the other one's CNN.
Yeah.
Can we get it up?
Just before we do that,
Yeah.
can we have this image from the circus up there that you just? Is that ready, Vish? Do we have that
Sure,
picture?
sure,
We
sure.
don't have the picture
We'll
yet
get it
because
up
I
in a
got to
sec.
tell you guys, there's 51. You know what's 51 in a wake up? What's 51 in a wake up?
51 to wake up is my birthday.
That's your birthday.
Yeah, see, Raheem knows that. He's been around long, and I've been around 10 years.
So I'm just saying, everyone's going to be sending hairbrushes and
Okay.
hair ties. And
For a guy
everything.
my age,
Scrunchy.
I'm going to have it pulled back by then. Look like Stephen Delane. I'm going to look like Stephen Delane is playing Jefferson
Actually,
and Tom.
one of the
and
daily comments
John.
that we get where all your female fans are talking about your locks. We get a few guys like Steve, no ponytail, man. We can't do that.
No ponytail.
No.
Okay,
Can't
fine.
tie it back.
Okay.
Unless
Here
you
we go,
dip
here
it in
is.
tar.
Here it is, right.
Let's get that up.
Yeah.
Let's get the picture up.
That's
there.
a good. This is from the other night. That's from when I was with John Hallman.
Wow.
It's a power picture right there.
Power picture.
Want to thank the guys at the circus.
Only took an hour to get it.
I was only there for 5 hours.
CNN SSRS poll that came out this morning. All right, I have 77 odd pages in front of me. Went through it all.
77-page poll. So
This is all the crosstabs.
Explain to the audience what the crosstabs are and why, for a political professional like you, they're important.
I wouldn't call myself a professional, but for somebody who claims to know what they're talking about, if you haven't gone through the detail on this stuff, then you don't actually know what you're talking about. You're just taking the top lines and trying to extrapolate out from that. What you want to do is you want to identify trends and themes in this. Now, I've been through most of this thing this morning. There are some things which even, it came out at 6:30 a.m. So there are some things you don't even get to go through. But let's take it from the top, because this poll asserts that Joe Biden is leading by 16 points. This is amongst likely voters, and the numbers barely change. Biden just loses 1 point. Trump picks up no points amongst registered voters. So 2 different categories of polling that they've done, they claim to have done here, and no significant statistical difference between them. So you're talking about
16 points down.
16 point down.
27 days to go.
Now, when you look at the number of respondents to this, 1,205, you look at the number that were asked via landline versus cell phone, and the margin of error and confidence levels. This is a good poll on first reading. I have a little problem with the cell phone numbers being stacked because cell phone answers tend to be younger
demographic,
younger voters who are more willing to vote Democrat. But then you get into, and I've got it all marked up here, so bear with me 1 second. Then you get into some of the details surrounding who they polled, and once again, here we are. The more on methodology. All right, so look, I want to show people this. This is the front page for the video audience, radio audience. I'm holding up the front page here. Okay, the front page tells you the overview and the notes about the crosstabs. It's not until page 22 that it goes, oh, by the way, more on our methodology. Okay, so you've got to get through the first 22 pages to get to the methodology. Now, out of the 1,205 adults that were interviewed for this, the sample, 33% described themselves as Democrats. 39% describe themselves as independents or members of another party, and just 28% describe themselves as Republicans. So initially you already have a Dem plus 5 situation there. But as I've shown with previous investigations as well into this stuff, independents or members of another party tend to skew 2/3 towards the Democrats anyway. So you then got a built-in amongst the independents there. With that in mind, I would immediately rip about 10 points off this poll. And that leads us with a Biden 6 or a 5 or 6. Now you go and you look, and here are the things that we've got to be worried about. That's the good news, by the way. The bad news is you go into the crosstabs.
The good news is I just wish away 10 points, so I'm now down 6.
Exactly. Okay. That is the good news of this poll. Then you go into the actual crosstabs on this, and this is the little details in the polls. And for instance, people are asked, how likely are you, for instance, to change your mind about how you're going to vote? It's very clear that most people have made their minds up. 90% of total of those polled say their minds are made up on the candidate. That's 87% men, 93% women, 92% white people, and 86% people of color say that they have made up their minds. Now, interestingly, the people of color sampling error size is much larger, or almost double some of the others. So that's a little outlier there. But interestingly as well, when you go down it, and really bad news, is that Republicans are more likely to say that they might still change their minds than Democrats are. Democrats are set on their candidate. It was about double the number of Republicans.
That's good, because that is, I would assume, the never-Trumper thing that are going to come home.
It could be that. It could be that, or it could be the total opposite. It could be our people who are like, not quite sure, waiting for the next debate, waiting to see how my man performs. Okay. Let's hope it's that. I think we have to go to a break here, Stephen. We got to.
Yeah, let's jump. I tell you what, we're going to wrap up this episode. We're going to come back next episode, over close to 16 million downloads, plus ubiquitous everywhere. We're in pandemic. We're going to be back into polling, Trump's path to victory. Talk about the hysteria of the left, also the House Intelligence Report.